These are the stock picks for May 4th, 2015. Again, we have 5 this week, and I'm going to go through them one by one. We are, as always, going to be using Yahoo Finance's interactive charts. You always want to go out to 1 month and click on the candlesticks indicator. That will give you the candlesticks for each day. Also, you'll be using stockta.com, which gives you decent technical analysis and allows you to find the support and resistance levels. And then occasionally you want to use Morningstar. This time we're going to use Morningstar because we want to look at possible dividend yields. I think some of these have dividends on them, which make them good for long-term investing. So let's start with the first one, GLW. I believe these are all on the New York Stock Exchange. Okay, so this is Corning Inc., and it has fallen quite a bit. Some people might say it's oversold. Let's take a look at the support level and see if it really is oversold. Alright, we don't have any strong support, but the resistances are weak as well. But look at this. Very bullish in the stochastic. That means it's oversold. If it's oversold, it's probably going to bounce back. You can buy it at a low. We can be pretty confident that it's at a low right now, and then sell it when it goes back up. One interesting candlestick pattern we have here is if you ignore the wicks of the candlestick and you see that there are 3 gaps without the wicks, you will notice that 3 of them tends to, statistically, head back upward. They reverse. Now let's check if we have any yield on the dividends. Probably not. This is going to be a swing trade anyway. But you can always check this in Morningstar. You go to Morningstar and you just check if there's a yield. So there is right here. You're going to get about 2%. And some pay monthly, some pay quarterly. You check down here the dividends timing. You can see there's a 3-month delay between each dividend. So it's a 3-month investment if you want that yield. But that's a low yield. At only 2%, we're not going to play as a long-term investment. We're going to play as a swing trade. We got the 3 gaps down. It's oversold. Let it go back up during this week and then sell at a high point. Next one is low. Low is pretty expensive. If you don't have the money to invest, you can always go with a call option. The candlestick pattern you see here is called a bullish engulfing. You have a green candlestick eating a previous red candlestick. Now generally before you get in on a trade like this, you want to look on Monday to see if that trend, that bullish prediction has been confirmed by a higher opening price. Generally, you can make a good bet on a bullish engulfing that has followed a downward pattern, because bullish engulfings tend to have a reversal, and we're buying just like the other stock. We're buying at a low and we hope to sell at a high. You can always check the support to see how much you stand to lose if it continues downward. Now, right now we are at 70.7. There is a support level about $1 below us, so we don't have to lose a lot. It is bearish in the long term, but again, this is a weekly stock pick, so this is a swing trade. Get out at a high. Third one is TER. TER is very different than the previous 2 trades because what we have is a candlestick way out of the trading region. When you see a candlestick outside of the trading region, accompanying with the volume, if you look below, there's volume down here. If you see a volume spike where this bar is much higher than the previous bars, you have what's called a breakaway gap. Breakaway gaps statistically continue in the direction away from the gap, so in the upward direction. If we have an up gap, then it's going to continue upward. Generally, you want to look at the candlesticks after the gap, but in this case, because it's such a strong deviation from the trading region and the previous volumes, my prediction is that this is going to go up during the next week. So watch this. We're going to have new levels of support, new levels of resistance. The characteristics of this stock versus its past patterns will be different, and usually it's a good time to get in at this type of volume and trading region deviation. We have another one like that. I'm not sure if it's Vail or Washington Union. I think it's probably Vail, so let's take a look. Vail is a bit different. Vail, we have a very small gap. I'm not sure if this is a gap, but you can put your cursor on the candlestick and look at the low on the left hand side of the screen, you'll see it's 7.75, and then the previous candlestick's high says 7.72. So we have a tiny gap there, but that gap is so small it's probably not going to be considered an area gap. What we're going to do here is we're going to check both the other technicals, and we're going to see if there's a yield on that. I chose these for a reason, but I chose these a couple hours ago, so I forget exactly why. Right now we're at 8.07. We have a little bit of support below us. It's not extremely safe, but you can see in the long term, or the short term and intermediate term, it's bullish. It's a really gappy stock these days, and we do have a 4% yield, so this would be a decent investment. But what's interesting about this is we had a, just like we saw before, bullish engulfing candlestick pattern where we have a green candlestick eating a red candlestick, and that pattern has been confirmed by an opening price higher than the previous candlestick. So what we see here is what we saw was a peak, and the peak started to drop, and now we have a symbol that predicts a reversal, and the reversal is now confirmed. So this would be a decent swing trade as well as a decent investment if you want that 4% yield. Now, last one I believe is also a gap trade. This is Western Union. You're probably familiar with this company. It's not a very volatile stock. It trades within a very short region. But again, we have a gap that puts this candlestick way out of the trading region, and we have a very high volume. So this is just like the TER trade we saw, and it's also going to be a decent investment because I believe this has a yield with it as well. As you can see, there's a 2% yield. It's not high, but I think a lot of people get into this stock simply because it's pretty stable. The revenue is pretty stable. The dividends are again quarterly. So this is a decent time to get in because we're probably going to start moving upward. This will become a growth stock for at least the short term, and you can hold on to it for the long term for that dividend rate. So that's it. I'm going to put them back up for your convenience. Those are the 5 stock picks for the week of May 4, 2015. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below or email me at damon@stockbarometer.com.